Lamp Ghost. Over the past month or two, I've been experiencing a peculiar occurrence every single night, somewhere between the hours of 9:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. It revolves around my trusty lamp, which happens to possess a nifty little switch on its base. Whenever I flick this switch, whether to illuminate or darken the room, a distinctively loud click resonates throughout the space. However, here's the baffling part. Every night within the aforementioned time window, my lamp emits this click sound without actually turning on or off. Now, before I delve further into this enigma, let me provide you with some context. You see, my lamp is not an ordinary inanimate object. It has become an unwitting accomplice in the strange happenings within my abode. Its unique click has become a harbinger of something beyond the realm of rationality. I'm convinced that there is an otherworldly presence lurking within the confines of my living space. Initially, I dismissed the recurring click as a mere product of my overactive imagination. However, as nights wore on and the click persisted, I could no longer deny its existence. It was as if this eerie sound was beckoning me to unravel the mysteries that lay hidden in the shadows of the night. To ensure the authenticity of this phenomenon, I conducted several experiments. I meticulously observed the lamp, waiting for the click to manifest, and lo and behold, it happened consistently, without fail, every single night. The fact that it occurred only once during the course of the evening ruled out any external source of sound interference. This solitary click was an enigmatic symphony that played out exclusively for my ears. Curiosity gnawing at my every thought, I began to question the origins of this ghostly auditory message. Could it be a benevolent spirit reaching out from beyond the veil of the unknown to guide me on a mystical journey? Or is it merely a mischievous phantom, delighting in its ability to taunt and perplex me? I couldn't say for certain. Nevertheless, I already had a brush with the supernatural in the past, solidifying my belief in the existence of otherworldly entities. Yes, dear reader, I have crossed paths with a specter before. I have felt their ethereal presence and even caught a glimpse of their spectral form. The memory of that encounter lingers vividly in my mind, fueling my fascination with the paranormal. Now, as I ponder the significance of this nightly click, another puzzling factor enters into the equation: my feline companions. My cats, these mysterious creatures with eyes that seem to hold the wisdom of the universe, exhibit peculiar behavior in the presence of this enigmatic click. Without fail, they fixate their gaze upon the wall or the ceiling adjacent to my lamp, their unblinking eyes mirroring a profound awareness of something beyond human comprehension. Are they able to perceive what eludes my mortal senses? Do they possess an innate connection to the ethereal realm that I, a mere mortal, lack? In my attempts to decipher the meaning behind this supernatural symphony, I have developed a personal interpretation of this click. Silly as it may sound, I perceive it as a gentle nudge from the ghostly inhabitant of my home, urging me to retire from the night and succumb to the embrace of sleep. It's almost as if this spectral presence, in its own enigmatic way, cares for my well-being and seeks to guide me toward a state of restfulness. So, dear reader, as I prepare to embark on yet another night veiled in mystery, I shall embrace the click as a curious reminder of the enigmatic forces that weave their ethereal threads through the fabric of my existence. It serves as a constant reminder that our reality is not limited to the tangible and the rational. There are realms beyond our comprehension where spirits roam and secrets whisper in the wind. While some may dismiss this phenomenon as figments of an overactive imagination, I find solace in embracing the inexplicable. Each night as the clock approaches the bewitching hour, I anticipate the familiar click with a mix of trepidation and excitement. It has become a ritual, a communion between the mortal and the ethereal. I sit in the dimly lit room, my senses heightened, waiting for that moment when the invisible veil between worlds momentarily lifts. In those fleeting seconds when the click resounds through the silence, I can almost feel a shift in the air. It's as if the boundaries that confine our perceptions blur, and the presence of the supernatural becomes palpable. Shadows dance on the walls, and the flickering light from the lamp takes on a spectral quality, casting eerie shapes and forms. During these ethereal encounters, I've ventured into the depths of my own psyche, searching for answers that lie beyond the realm of logic. I have engaged in introspection, contemplating the nature of existence and the interconnectedness of all things. In the stillness of those nights, I felt a profound connection to something greater than myself, a vast tapestry of consciousness that stretches far beyond the limitations of our mortal coil. As I delve deeper into this enigmatic realm, I cannot help but wonder if the ghostly presence behind the click is the same spirit I encountered before. Is it a familiar face from the other side, reaching out to me once more? Or are there multiple entities, each with its own story to tell and its own purpose to fulfill? The presence of my cats adds another layer of intrigue to this mystifying narrative. Their unwavering gaze and their seemingly heightened perception hint at a deeper understanding of the supernatural forces at play. Perhaps they are guardians, sentinels of the spirit world, entrusted with the task of guiding and protecting me on this journey of discovery. In the depths of the night, as the click reverberates through my being, I am filled with a sense of wonder and awe. It's a reminder that there's so much more to this world than meets the eye, a reminder to approach life with an open mind and an open heart. The click is a gentle prod, urging me to embrace the mysteries that lie beyond the boundaries of what we perceive as reality. So as the clock strikes and the lamp emits its enigmatic click, I welcome the unknown. I invite the spirits to reveal their secrets and guide me through the labyrinth of the supernatural. With each click, I'm reminded that life is a tapestry woven with both the seen and the unseen. And it is in this exploration of the unseen that we truly uncover the depths of our own existence. What was this huge thing that I saw? Allow me to share with you an unsettling encounter that transpired not too long ago, an incident that continues to send shivers down my spine. To provide a proper backdrop, let me emphasize that I reside in a rather secluded region of Germany, characterized by its rustic charm and tranquil surroundings. Throughout my life, I've always maintained an inexplicable affinity towards all things paranormal, but nothing could have prepared me for what unfolded on that fateful day. As I embarked on a leisurely stroll through the picturesque natural landscape, little did I know that I was about to embark on an otherworldly experience. The sun's warm embrace cast a golden hue across the terrain, casting elongated shadows that dance upon the path before me. I reveled in the serenity of my surroundings, immersing myself in the soothing sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves. However, this idyllic setting was abruptly shattered as my gaze fixated upon a peculiar sight, a spectacle that defied comprehension. There before me stood an enormous creature, unlike anything I'd ever encountered before. Its presence was both mesmerizing and terrifying, an amalgamation of beauty and dread. The creature was adorned with 3 rotating rings, each adorned with a myriad of eyes and gazed ominously in every direction. However, what truly captivated me was the colossal eye at its center, a piercing gaze that seemed to penetrate the depths of my soul. To my astonishment, the creature spoke, its voice emanating from an unseen source as if defying the laws of nature. Without a discernible mouth, it uttered a phrase that reverberated through the air, echoing in the recesses of my mind. "Don't be afraid." Though its message was meant to provide reassurance, I found myself paralyzed by fear, unable to muster a single word or action in response. In an attempt to comprehend the creature's enigmatic words, I quickly translated them from the native German into a language familiar to me. "He will come," it proclaimed, its voice infused with an otherworldly resonance that sent shivers cascading down my spine. The implications of its utterance were obscure, leaving me bewildered and unsettled. Time seemed to stand still in that eerie moment of confrontation. My heart pounded within my chest as I grappled the maelstrom of emotions. Fear and awe intertwined with me, waging a battle for dominance over my senses. The creature with its surreal appearance, possessing a haunting allure that captivated me. its mesmerizing form forever etched in the recesses of my memory. As I retreated from the scene, my mind abuzz with questions and trepidation, I couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter held a profound significance. What did the creature's cryptic warning signify? Who was this mysterious he that he spoke of? These unanswered queries would continue to haunt me, serving as a constant reminder of that fateful day when the realms of the supernatural collided with my everyday existence. Thus, dear reader, I recount this tale, forever etching it into the annals of my personal history. The memory of that surreal encounter lingers, an indelible mark upon my consciousness. It serves as a testament to the inexplicable forces that permeate our world, reminding us that there are realms beyond our comprehension, waiting to be discovered, feared, and revered. Two weird stories. Let me tell you about a series of peculiar occurrences that I frequently witnessed during the nighttime. A phenomenon that persisted over the course of what I believe to be several years. It all started with my nocturnal ventures outside, perhaps to secure a door or attend some other task. During these brief moments, a striking sight would manifest before my eyes. An enigmatic shadow entity darting past me. However, this was no ordinary shadow. It emanated a distinct bluish-black hue that stood out starkly against the backdrop of the night. Sometimes it would streak by in a mere blur, while on other occasions it appeared to possess limbs as if it was engaged in a spiritual sprint. This peculiar phenomenon recurred with great frequency, though it never struck me as being particularly terrifying. Rather, it imbued an unsettling feeling within me, albeit sporadically. In the present day, numerous years removed those encounters. I am inclined to believe that it was nothing more than a figment of my imagination. Thus concludes the first tale of my experiences, which I apologize if I failed to instill a sense of nail-biting suspense. Now allow me to recount an entirely inexplicable incident that transpired under rather peculiar circumstances. It transpired during a family vacation to the sun-drenched state of Florida, where we were accompanied by my cousin's family. Our temporary house was nestled on the third floor of a grand hotel, boasting a total of 4 stories. Several days had passed since our arrival, during which we made multiple uneventful journeys in the elevator. However, the perplexing event I'm about to share unfolded on a day when our plans involved a visit to the hotel pool, or some equally delightful pursuit. As my father, brother, cousin, his mother, and I boarded the elevator, everything appeared entirely ordinary. The doors gracefully slid shut, and the elevator commenced its descent. But lo and behold, just as we found ourselves suspended between the second and third floors, an unprecedented occurrence took place. An ear-splitting, otherworldly scream permeated the air, striking our eardrums with unparalleled force. To compound this mystifying nature of this event, the agonizing sound seemed to reverberate not from some distant corner of the hotel, but rather from a location perilously close to our immediate vicinity. It was at this source that the dreadful wail had materialized, either directly above the elevator or inexplicably within its confines. My father and my cousin's mother, seemingly impervious to the disconcerting incident, dismissed it with casual nonchalance. However, my brother, my cousin, and I found ourselves deeply unsettled by this unnerving encounter. Through our initial shock gradually subsiding, the incident lingered in our minds like a haunting melody. Later that day, as the sun painted the sky in hues of golden twilight, my brother, cousin, and I found ourselves once again standing before the very elevator. The decision to ride it again was met with mixed emotions. My brother, understandably shaken by the earlier episode, vowed to abstain from further elevator excursions. However, my cousin and I, curiosity piqued and compelled by the inexplicable allure of the unknown, resolved to brave the journey in the hope of unraveling the enigma that had befallen us. With trepidation crawling at our hearts, we embarked on the elevator once more, ascending and descending, each time inching closer to the epicenter of this uncanny mystery. And then it happened. Somewhere amidst the third and second floors, a peculiar sensation enveloped the elevator, as though an invisible weight had settled upon it and it began to collide with an unseen obstruction. Anxiety gripped us and our thoughts veered towards the unsettling possibility that a person might have become trapped within the confined space of the elevator shaft. The weighty sensation and the jarring impact intensified our concerns, raising the distressing notion that an individual's safety hung precariously in the balance. However, as we disembarked from the elevator, our fears seemed to dissipate momentarily, replaced by a glimmer of hope that the subsequent rides would return to their ordinary nature. Nevertheless, the allure of unraveling this inexplicable occurrence proved irresistible, as if an invisible force compelled us to confront the mysteries that lay shrouded within the seemingly innocuous metal box. Gathering our courage, my cousin and I resolved to embark on yet another venture, a mission fueled by curiosity and the need for closure. With each ascending and descending journey, we found ourselves holding our breath, anticipating another encounter with the bizarre and inexplicable. And indeed, our persistence was met with disconcerting revelations. During subsequent rides, the peculiar heaviness returned, accompanied by disconcerting sensations of the elevator colliding with an unseen obstacle. It was as if an invisible hand grasped the elevator, impeding its smooth passage through the floors. The sense of foreboding only deepened as we grappled with the eerie notion that some supernatural or otherworldly force was at play, manipulating the very fabric of our reality. As our vacation days dwindled and the Florida sun dipped below the horizon, we found ourselves torn between the fascination and the trepidation. The once familiar hotel, now imbued with an aura of mystery, became our haunting playground. We embarked on numerous expeditions, our steps guided by an insatiable desire to unravel the enigma that had gripped our minds. Each ride in this enigmatic elevator brought us closer to the heart of the mystery, but also intensified the unnerving sensations that accompanied it. Our conversations shifted from jovial holiday banter to relentless speculation. Late nights were spent poring over local folklore, urban legends, and tales of supernatural encounters that might offer even a sliver of explanation for the enigmatic events that had unfolded. Our obsession became all-consuming, eclipsing the joy and relaxation that a vacation is supposed to bring. The once anticipated gateway had transformed into a quest for answers, propelling us further into the realm of the inexplicable. Yet, despite our tireless efforts and fervent inquiries, the truth remained elusive. The elevator, like a silent sentinel, guarded its secrets with steadfast resolve. We questioned hotel staff and consulted experts in paranormal phenomenon, and even scoured the archives of local newspapers, hoping to find a trace of any incident that might shed light on our perplexing experiences. Alas, our pursuit yielded nothing more than frustration and an ever-deepening sense of bewilderment. As the final day of our vacation arrived, we found ourselves standing before the hotel elevator one last time, a mixture of disappointment and resignation in our hearts. The thrill of the unknown had been replaced by a wariness born of relentless pursuit and unanswered questions. With heavy steps and heavy hearts, we entered the elevator, the doors closing with a finality that mirrored our state of mind. And then, as if in one last act of defiance, the elevator jolted, and the familiar weight settled upon us once more, but this time there was something different. Amidst the eerie collision and the inexplicable heaviness, a faint whisper reached our ears. It was a voice, soft and ethereal, resonating with a melancholic tone that sent shivers down our spines. Though the words were indistinguishable, the message conveyed a profound sense of longing and a plea for understanding. In that moment, the realization dawned upon us that we were not mere bystanders in a string of inexplicable events. We were part of a narrative woven by forces beyond our comprehension, entangled in a tale that transcended the boundaries of our understanding. The whispers and eerie encounters were not random occurrences, but manifestations of a hidden realm intersecting with our own. With newfound determination, we vowed to delve deeper into this enigmatic tapestry, to decipher its secrets and find meaning within the chaos. We sought out local historians and paranormal experts and individuals who had experienced similar phenomenon, hoping to piece together the fragments of this perplexing puzzle. Their stories and insights painted a vivid picture of a hotel steeped in history, filled with tales of unexplained happenings and ghostly apparitions. The hotel, it seemed, had a long-standing reputation as a hub for supernatural occurrences. From spectral sightings to inexplicable noises, countless guests had encountered the unexplainable within its walls. Rumors circulated of tragedy that had unfolded many years ago, a secret tragedy obscured by time and silenced by passing generations. It was believed that the spirits of the past still lingered, yearning to communicate, to share their untold stories. Armed with this newfound knowledge, we embarked on a quest to unravel the hotel's haunted history, determined to uncover the truth that lay hidden beneath the surface. We delved into archives, poring over old newspaper clippings, local records, and personal accounts, painstakingly reconstructing the events that had transpired within those very walls. Each piece of information brought us closer to the understanding of this nature of these eerie encounters. As we pieced together the fragments of the past, a narrative emerged. We discovered a tragic incident that had occurred decades ago, a fire that ravaged the hotel, claiming the lives of several guests. Among them was a young man who had perished on the 3rd floor, the exact location where our elevator experiences had been unfolding. It became evident that his restless spirit, trapped in the ethereal realm, sought solace and resolution. Empathy filled our hearts as we connected with the lingering energy of the departed soul. We realized our encounters with the unsettling screams, the inexplicable heaviness, and the whispers were his desperate attempts to communicate his anguish, his yearning for closure. The weight we felt in the elevator symbolized his eternal struggle, caught between realms, forever trapped in liminal space. Armed with this newfound understanding, yet again, we set out to assist the tormented spirit to offer him the solace and release that he sought. He reached out to paranormal investigators, spiritual mediums, and renowned experts in the field seeking guidance on how to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. Today, we devised a plan to conduct a seance, a sacred ritual to commune with the lingering presence. The night of the seance arrived, and we gathered in the very elevator that had been the stage for our mysterious encounters. Surrounded by flickering candlelight, we opened our hearts and minds, invoking the presence of the departed soul. The air grew charged with anticipation as we listened intently, waiting for a sign, a response from the other side. And then, in a moment that felt suspended in time, the elevator trembled, and a gentle breeze swept through the confined space. The ethereal whispers grew louder, forming coherent words, carrying the sorrow and longing of the tormented spirit. We engaged in a heartfelt dialogue, offering understanding, compassion, and assurance that his story would not be forgotten. As the seance drew to a close, a profound sense of peace enveloped us. We felt a weight lifted, both within the elevator and within our souls. It was as if the restless spirit had found solace, finally able to release its burdens that had bound it to this earthly realm. Our efforts had not been in vain, for we had become conduits of healing, bridging the gap between the living and the dead. In that moment, a profound sense of fulfillment washed over us, reaffirming the interconnectedness of our world and the power of empathy and understanding. The word of our encounter spread through the hotel, captivating the staff and guests alike. People came forward sharing their own encounters with the supernatural, their voices blending into a chorus of validation. The once dismissed whispers and eerie experiences were no longer confined to the realm of imagination, but had become undeniable truths, acknowledged and respected by those who had walked the same haunted halls. Inspired by the newfound unity within the hotel, we initiated a community effort to honor the memory of the departed souls and acknowledge that history had shaped this establishment. A memorial was erected commemorating the lives lost in the tragic fire. The hotel's management, recognizing the significance of their haunted past, organized guided tours, inviting guests to explore the paranormal phenomenon and embrace the rich tapestry of its ghostly inhabitants. With time, the hotel transformed from a place of mystery and fear into a beacon of intrigue and acceptance. Paranormal enthusiasts, history buffs, and curious travelers flocked to experience the haunting allure that had captured our hearts. The elevator, once a source of trepidation, became a symbol of connection between realms, a tangible reminder of our shared human experiences. Our own lives were also forever changed by the events that unfolded during that fateful vacation. We became advocates for the recognition and understanding of the supernatural, spreading awareness and encouraging empathy toward the unseen. Our encounters with the shadow entity and the tormented spirit became catalysts for a deeper appreciation of the mysteries that surround us, reminding us that there's always more to the world than meets the eye. So as time passed, our memories of that vacation in Florida remained etched in our minds, serving as a reminder of the profound impact our journeys can have on our lives. We carried the lessons learned, the connections made, and the stories shared with us, cherishing them as cherished fragments of a tapestry woven with both light and shadows. And so, dear reader, as I conclude the extraordinary tales of the inexplicable, I invite you to embrace the enigmatic aspects of life, to seek understanding in the unknown, and to approach the world with an open heart and an unyielding curiosity. For it is in these moments, when the boundaries of our reality are tested, that we truly come alive, embracing the beauty and wonder that lie just beyond our comprehension. Flashbacks of unknown places I've never been to. Ever since I was a young child, I've experienced the peculiar phenomenon of sporadic memories surfacing in my mind. These memories are of unfamiliar places, predominantly set outdoors, and curiously enough, I've never actually been to any of them. It's important to note that these occurrences are distinct from déjà vu or any form of hallucination. Instead, they bear a resemblance to recollections from long ago, spontaneously resurfacing with remarkable detail when least expected. Intrigued by these flashes, I occasionally take notes to validate their authenticity. Remarkably, upon revisiting these notes later on, I find that they accurately reflect the memories that had come to mind. In an effort to seek answers, I sought medical examinations, including MRIs and CT scans, to investigate potential causes related to my visual snow and migraines. To my relief, the results showed no sign of physiological abnormalities. As for my mental state, I consider myself an educated individual who rarely experiences stress. I approach life with an easygoing and positive attitude, firmly grounded in logic, and I hold no belief in paranormal phenomenon. Therefore, it seems unlikely that these episodes stem from psychological factors. I have contemplated various rational explanations to make sense of these curious flashbacks, and one hypothesis I entertain is that they may stem from old dreams. Although I lack concrete evidence to support this theory, I have noticed that I can distinguish between memories of old dreams and these inexplicable recollections. For instance, when I dream of being in an unfamiliar house, I am acutely aware of the vivid interiors being merely remnants of a dream. However, the flashbacks I experience occur selectively, and only when I consciously choose to recall them. Another plausible possibility I have is considering that these places I remember might have been visited during my early childhood, given that the scenery in these flashbacks bears a resemblance to the typical landscapes found in Greece, where I've spent a majority of my life. This hypothesis gains some traction. However, what perplexes me is that these places do not align with any known locations. Chronologically, these memories seem to span from the late 1980s to the early 2000s, which coincides with my birth year, 1985. Interestingly, whenever these mysterious recollections come flooding back, an eerie yet pleasant sensation washes over me. There's a subtle otherworldly quality to these experiences, despite their utterly realistic nature. Conversely, when I recall familiar and ordinary memories, regardless of how nostalgic they may be, they feel entirely mundane and devoid of any inexplicable aura. The intricacies of these unexplained flashbacks continue to baffle me, I remain inquisitive and open to exploring potential explanations, yet thus far, I have found no definitive answers. It remains an enduring enigma, a captivating puzzle that adds a touch of the mystique to my otherwise ordinary life. As I traverse the realms of memory, constantly encountering these extraordinary glimpses, I can't help wondering about the mysteries of the human mind and the fascinating depths it holds. Haunted House in Ireland. Back in December in Ireland, I had an intriguing paranormal experience that I'm excited to share. During my vacation, which took place in Dublin for the first half and later in the country of Killarney, I encountered some haunting sights that added a thrill to the trip. Although I didn't sense anything negative from these attractions, there was a place that gave off an eerie vibe. It was a historical country, filled with antique furniture and situated on another family's property. Despite feeling creeped out by the house, I couldn't help but appreciate its stunning architecture and the surrounding picturesque landscape. As our stay neared its end, my mom and I decided to explore a nearby haunted castle and graveyard. Little did we know that this visit would set the stage for unsettling nights. We went to bed, and around 1 or 2 a.m., a sudden and piercing doorbell ring jolted me awake. Filled with fear, I immediately worried that a stranger was lurking outside the house. Moreover, since my mom occasionally got engrossed in her smoking and forgot to lock the door, I wasn't certain if it was secure. So for the next 5 minutes I lay frozen in bed, straining my ears to detect any signs of activity either inside or outside the house. Strangely, there is a complete silence. Eventually, I mustered the courage to message my mom about the incident, then cautiously rose from bed, locked my door, and patiently waited for another 20 minutes. With no further disturbances, I decided to check that all the doors and windows were secured before finally feeling safe enough to go back to sleep. Upon waking, I shared the unnerving episode with my mom. She, too, was deeply unsettled. Fearing that we were in imminent danger in this secluded place, I attempted to describe the distinct sound of the doorbell to her, but soon realized that its unique resonance, reminiscent of bells resonating from all corners of the house, defied adequate explanation. Curiosity getting the better of us, we stepped outside in search of the phantom doorbell, only to find that there was no doorbell to be found anywhere on the property. Perplexed, considered the possibility that the sound originated from the neighboring family's house. Testing their doorbell, we discovered it emitted a faint and entirely dissimilar sound. Throughout our investigation, we encountered no one except for this particular collection of Victorian furniture, particularly their dining room table, but never used. Well, that's written confusingly. The following day, after returning late from an invigorating hike, we glanced into their house through a partially windowed wall. To our astonishment, we spotted a mysterious figure sitting in the dimly lit room, positioned on their Victorian couch, with no sign of a television or any other activity. It sent chills down our spines, both of us now thoroughly intrigued by the paranormal. I embarked on an internet search to find stories related to the doorbell phenomenon, but to my surprise, I stumbled upon numerous accounts advising against opening the door as it supposedly invited something ominous inside. Sharing this information with my mom, we retired to bed that night, bracing ourselves for whatever might transpire. Around 3 or 4 a.m., I awoke to the sense of urgency, knowing that it was our final night and I needed to pack for the airport. Descending the stairs to make coffee, I suddenly heard my mom's voice calling out, "Megan, was that you?" Surprised, I responded from the lower level, "No, what do you mean?" Later, my mom recounted her experience, explaining that she had been awoken at that precise hour by loud knocks on her door. Given that I was downstairs and I would have undoubtedly heard such a disturbance, the revelation left us both bewildered. Am I the only one who actually feels bad for lost spirits? or as we call them, ghosts. Ghosts, oh how they always manage to evoke a deep sense of melancholy within me. The more I ponder upon their existence, the more overwhelming the sadness becomes. Ghosts, in their essence, epitomize the profound loss of everything. While our bodies may merely serve as vessels, they are undeniably the most vital possession that we can ever have. If we were to lose even that, we would be left with nothing but emptiness. The thought of succumbing to a painful death, only to find oneself wandering aimlessly within the confines of a desolate and darkened edifice for all eternity, is utterly unimaginable. What's worse is that even when people are present, it becomes an unfathomable task for them to perceive or hear the presence of these ethereal beings. It's a plight capable of driving someone to the brink of insanity, akin to being perpetually trapped within an isolation chamber. In this peculiar state, one is able to observe the world, albeit without the ability to engage with it. If I were to encounter a lost soul trapped in such a predicament, I would gladly welcome them with solace of my abode and make every effort to engage with them whenever the opportunity arose. They deserve this connection and acknowledgement. I firmly believe that we should strive to transform the prevailing culture surrounding the deceased. These spectral entities are not to be feared as terrifying monsters. They're simply individuals whose spirits are unbound, unsure if they even exist anymore. They were once people just like you and me. While malevolence will inevitably reveal itself in due course, the vast majority of these apparitions pose no harm, and thus, we should not be afraid to greet the seemingly vacant air from time to time. I wouldn't wish the plight of being a ghost upon anyone. It is undeniably the epitome of anguish. However, the most distressing aspect of all is the knowledge that one might still see or sense the presence of those they deeply cherish, yet to be forever denied the ability to interact with them. Despite my unwavering belief in reincarnation and the concept of an afterlife, it remains an arduous task to come to terms with the fact that I may never again engage with someone I hold dear in this present existence. The mere thought of this reality is a true hardship that tugs at my heartstrings. Why do some ghosts interact with the people they used to work with as if they were still alive? In the realm of tales involving ghosts, those ethereal beings that interact with the living in various ways, be it negatively, positively, or with neutral disposition, there exist those peculiar stories that defy all expectation. It's challenging to find an adequate description for them, but ultimately what sets them apart is the fact that only one individual is privy to these encounters. Yet, by their vivid descriptions, it becomes abundantly clear that these apparitions were not mere figments of imagination, but physical present entities, leaving no room for the witness to doubt their existence. What makes these accounts particularly intriguing is that these spectral encounters, despite their undeniable peculiarity, always unfold in the most mundane of circumstances. Recently, I came across one such extraordinary incident that left me bewildered. It involved a gentleman who worked the night shift and found himself struggling to move a cumbersome wire spool. In a moment of serendipity, a man dressed in the attire of a fellow co-worker materialized, seemingly out of thin air, and graciously offered his assistance in pushing the unwieldy object while the bewildered worker guided him. As they undertook this peculiar collaborative endeavor, a most ordinary conversation ensued between them. They delved into topics as banal as one could imagine, cracking jokes about political landscapes, including the infamous Donald Trump, discussing the actions of their bosses, and even sharing anecdotes about their respective nights that had unfolded thus far. The entire exchange could be described as a mundane discourse on the happenings of their shared realities. However, the true oddity of the situation manifested when the security footage captured the wire spool moving autonomously, seemingly propelled by an unseen force, while the lone employee responsible for its guidance never made contact with it. Astonishingly, the wire spool obediently responded to the ghostly intervention, as if the invisible helper's ethereal touch was capable of influencing the physical world. This unexplainable phenomenon ceased abruptly, and the worker, filled with gratitude, turned around to express his heartfelt appreciation to the enigmatic figure. Yet, to his astonishment, the apparition had vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but an empty space where he had stood moments before. It is at this juncture that a profound question emerges. If a ghost possesses the conscious ability to manifest itself in such a palpable and corporeal manner, why would it choose to act as if such extraordinary circumstances were entirely ordinary? One might assume that these spectral entities, endowed with a heightened awareness of their existence beyond the earthly realm, would possess an acute understanding of the abnormality of their situation. After all, they would surely discern that their inexplicable presence in the physical world defies the natural laws governing the living. Nevertheless, there is a certain wholesomeness to these encounters, regardless of their enigmatic nature. The very fact that a ghost would willingly and selflessly offer assistance to a hapless worker, engaging in lighthearted conversation reminiscent of ordinary camaraderie, evokes a sense of warmth and comfort. It's as if these unearthly beings, aware of their limited interaction with the living, yearn for a taste of the mundane, relishing in the simple joys of human connection, even if it exists in a realm beyond our comprehension. As I ponder these inexplicable encounters, I'm reminded that the world is vast and boundless and mysterious, holding secrets that surpass our current understanding. The stories of ghosts, ranging from the terrifying to the benevolent, teach us that reality is not always confined to what we perceive with our limited senses. These accounts of these extraordinary apparitions that seamlessly blend into the fabric of everyday life serve as a constant reminder that the boundaries between the tangible and the ethereal are far more complex and fluid than we could ever fathom. They beckon us to question the very nature of existence and challenge the rigid confines of our understanding. In the aftermath of witnessing such an otherworldly encounter, my curiosity knows no bounds. I find myself delving into ancient folklore, seeking answers in the annals of paranormal research, and engaging with individuals who have experienced similar inexplicable phenomenon. It becomes apparent that these outlier stories of ghostly interaction hold a key to unraveling the mysteries of the spiritual realm. As I immerse myself in this captivating pursuit, I stumble upon accounts from diverse cultures and epochs, all sharing a common thread, the coexistence of supernatural within the realm of the ordinary. The stories range from benevolent spirits offering guidance and protection to the mischievous apparitions playing harmless pranks. It becomes increasingly evident that the relationship between the living and the spectral is not confined to a mere dichotomy of fear and terror, but rather a nuanced interplay of emotions, intentions, and connections. Could it be that these seemingly mundane encounters serve a greater purpose beyond our comprehension? Perhaps in their own enigmatic way, these ethereal beings strive to bridge the gap between the realms of the living and the dead. Their choice to manifest in the most ordinary of situations hints at a profound understanding of human nature, a recognition that our daily lives are comprised of seemingly trivial moments that shape the very fabric of our existence. In contemplating the motivations of these ghosts, a glimmer of insight emerges. It is possible that these spectral beings, confined to the intricacies of our reality, long for the warmth of human interaction, the laughter and the camaraderie that's often taken for granted. By assuming the guise of everyday individuals, they strive to assimilate into our lives, if only for a fleeting moment, and experience the simple pleasures of shared experiences. Moreover, these encounters serve as a gentle reminder to us, the living, of the interconnectedness of all things. They prompt us to look beyond the superficial divisions that society imposes and recognize the inherent unity that binds us all. In the presence of these extraordinary apparitions, social barriers crumble, and we are reminded of our shared humanity. Yet, the question remains, why do these ghosts choose to portray themselves as normal, disregarding the peculiarity of their existence? The answer, it seems, lies in their desire to alleviate any discomfort or fear that may arise from their supernatural nature. By appearing as solid and tangible as the living, they seem to create a sense of familiarity and reassurance. They understand that abrupt revelations of their ghostly nature could lead to disbelief, panic, or even harm. Therefore, they adopt a guise that minimizes the shock, allowing for a smoother interaction between their ephemeral world and our own. In the pursuit of unraveling these mysteries, I've come to realize that the nature of ghosts and their interactions with the living may forever elude complete comprehension. Perhaps, in their elusive nature, lies the very essence of their existence, an enigma meant to perpetually challenge our perceptions and expand our understanding of the universe. So, as I continue to explore the depths of these outlier ghost stories, I do so with a newfound appreciation for the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary. The ghostly encounters that defy explanation serve as a testament to the boundless possibilities that lie beyond the realm of our senses. They remind us that the tapestry of reality is woven with threads of wonder, and within its intricate patterns, the mundane and the supernatural intertwine, inviting us to embrace the profound mysteries that lie just beyond the veil of our everyday lives. My childhood haunting. When I was a young child, approximately between the ages of 5 and 7, I had recurring experiences where deceased relatives would appear beside me during the night. At that time, my mother, sister, and I resided with my granddad in a traditional Australian Queenslander house. This particular house was quite old, with 2 stories and an above-ground basement on the first floor, where my granddad lived. Almost every night I would encounter a man wearing green overalls and a lady positioned beneath my bed. Although the lady remained completely silent, her presence filled me with terror. The man would often stand near the bookshelf in my room, located right next to the door. He had a pale grayish complexion and would awaken me with his humming. If I remained still or concealed myself beneath the covers, he would continue humming. However, somehow, he would sense if I was looking and would turn to face me. He would then approach my bed, leaning in and attempting to come face to face with me. He did so silently, merely staring at me intently. Frightened beyond measure, I would hastily retreat under the covers or cry out for my mother. The lady emitted a faint light from beneath my bed. Unfortunately, I cannot recall her appearance clearly, as I was usually upside down and in a state of shock whenever I caught a glimpse of her. Although I did manage to glance under the bed a few times to investigate the source of the light, the room's atmosphere felt overwhelmingly watchful whenever I did so. Later on, my mother deduced that the man resembled my granddad's deceased uncle, who had passed away in the same room where these encounters were taking place. When my mother showed pictures of him, I recognized him completely. She reassured me, and perhaps he was there to protect me, and that I needn't worry. However, the presence felt undeniably malevolent to me. Just before we moved away from that house, my mother screamed at these apparitions in the dead of the night, demanding that they leave me alone. I can only imagine what the neighbors might have thought, but it seemed to have worked. Although he returned a few times thereafter, he never approached me again. After we settled into our own place, my granddad's brother moved in to live with him. Years later, he passed away in that very same room. Occasionally, I visit the family house, but I always avoid staying in that room. Merely passing by it fills me with dreadful sensations that I can't shake off. Haunted or paranoid? I'm a 19-year-old with a deep fascination for all things creepy and mysterious, from unsolved mysteries to investigation, true crime, and even the paranormal. I've always been drawn to the unknown. While I consider myself a believer, I've never really experienced anything truly paranormal, except a few instances that made me question my beliefs. One such incident occurred when my bedroom door closed by itself. It happened a few times, but I always brushed it off, attributing it to drafts or some other logical explanation. Then there was the time when I visited a supposedly haunted house in my hometown. I was only 9 or 10, something like that at the time, and I have to admit my imagination was heavily influenced by my mischievous siblings. So when I did see some eerie things in that house, I couldn't help but wonder if it was all in my head. Don't get me wrong, I do believe in the paranormal, but some stories and experiences are simply too far-fetched for me to wholeheartedly believe. Full-bodied apparitions, Ouija boards, ghost radios, they all seemed more like fictional creations than real-life occurrences. I have my doubts, despite my curiosity. Yesterday was just another day for me. Engrossed in my love for all things creepy, I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers, Moist Critical, on my laptop. Whenever I sit down to watch his videos, I create a little fortress in my room. I close the door, shut the windows, and make sure I have enough water and snacks to last me for hours. It's my own personal ritual, and yesterday was one of those marathon sessions. I had been sitting in front of my laptop for at least an hour, completely immersed in watching Moist Critical's reactions to a thrilling cop chase. Nothing creepy, just pure entertainment. Let me set the scene for you. My desk is positioned against a wall on the opposite side of the window. This means that I'm sitting down, my back is facing the window, and on the windowsill, I have an assortment of items, including aromatherapy oil diffusers, my collection of crystals, a Himalayan salt candle holder, and 2 vinyl records by Jeff Buckley. The vinyl records are securely propped up against the wall, and my cat was in my grandmother's room at the time, not in my room. Both the windows and the doors were closed tightly, given the icy weather outside. And then it happened. Out of nowhere, the vinyl records, the essential oil bottles, the candle, and even a few crystals suddenly fell off the windowsill. I jolted from my seat, nearly choking on my own breath, and a surge of fear washed over me. There was no logical explanation for this bizarre occurrence. Nothing could have possibly provoked these items to fall off the windowsill in such coordinated manner. It was as if an unseen force had deliberately knocked them down. At that moment, I felt a chill run down my spine. I quickly scanned my surroundings, desperately searching for any possible explanation. I should mention that there was a radiator directly beneath the windowsill. But it wasn't turned on at the time, or at least not enough to generate the unusual heat waves that might cause movement. Even if it had been on, the most it could have done was swung the blinds slightly, certainly not send objects flying across the room. As I stood there, perplexed and trembling, my mind raced through countless possibilities. Was it a ghost? A poltergeist, perhaps? Or could it be something more sinister lurking in the shadows of my Transylvanian home? Living in Transylvania with its rich folklore and tales of vampires, it's easy to let one's imagination run wild with thoughts of Dracula himself causing the disturbance. The legends and myths surrounding Transylvania have instilled a sense of both excitement and trepidation within me. While I don't truly believe in the existence of vampires, the coincidence of this strange event occurring in such a renowned location added an extra layer of intrigue. Attempting to regain my composure, I cautiously approached the fallen items on the floor. The crystals glistened under the dim light, their vibrant colors casting eerie shadows across the room. I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes were observing my every move. Goosebumps prickled my skin as I gingerly picked up the vinyl records and examined them for any sign of damage. Surprisingly, they seemed to be completely unscathed, as if they had landed on a cushion of air rather than a hardwood floor. Questions raced through my mind, begging for answers. Was this a mere coincidence, or was there something more to it? Could it be that the spirits of those who once inhabited this house were trying to communicate with me? The idea both thrilled and terrified me. Seeking answers, I decided to delve further into the history of the house, and the land that it stood on. Perhaps there were tales of unexplained phenomenon or tragic events that might shed light on this peculiar incident. My research led me down a rabbit hole of ghost stories, eyewitness accounts, and local folklore. I discovered that the house had a dark past, with rumors of unexplained deaths and inexplicable occurrences. Some even claimed that the spirits of the deceased still roamed its halls, forever trapped in liminal space between the living and the dead. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I couldn't help but wonder if the fallen items were a message from beyond the grave. Was there a spirit desperately trying to reach out to me, convey a long-buried secret, or seek solace? The idea fascinated me, fueling my desire to uncover the truth. Embracing my fascination with the paranormal, I decided to embark on my own investigation. I set up cameras and recording devices in my room, hoping to capture any further inexplicable occurrences. I meticulously documented every detail, analyzing each piece of evidence in my quest for answers. The nights were spent in anticipation, eagerly reviewing the footage, listening for whispers in the dark, and scrutinizing every creak and groan of the house. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, but my efforts yielded no substantial evidence. The house remained silent, as if guarding its secrets with an impenetrable shroud of mystery. Doubts started to seep into my mind, questioning the validity of my beliefs and the nature of paranormal stuff itself. Was I merely chasing shadows, clinging to superstitions in the hope of finding something extraordinary? Nevertheless, my passion for the unknown persisted. I continued my exploration of the supernatural, attending haunted tours, participating in seances, and engaging in discussions with fellow enthusiasts. Each encounter, while not providing definitive proof, fueled my curiosity and strengthened my conviction that there was more to this world than meets the eye. As the years went by, my experiences and investigations allowed me to appreciate the subtleties and complexities of the paranormal realm. I learned that there is not always about dramatic apparitions or objects flying across the room, but rather the subtle whispers in the wind, the unexplainable cold spots, and the eerie sensations that send chills down your spine. Today, I still reside in Transylvania, surrounded by the rich tapestry of its supernatural history. While I may never fully understand the incident with the fallen items on that fateful day, it remains a constant reminder that there are forces at work beyond our comprehension. Does anyone know any good prayers? A couple of months ago, I found myself entangled with certain objects that, in hindsight, I should have handled with more caution. Now, let me assure you that I'm not crazy. I do suffer from severe anxiety, which is why I regularly consult with both a therapist and a psychiatrist. However, despite my ongoing mental health struggles, I've never received any diagnosis other than anxiety, although I did experience periods of depression. It all began innocuously enough, with the occasional sighting of fleeting shadows darting across the periphery of my vision. These minor spectacles seemed inconsequential at first, easily dismissed as mere figments of my imagination, but gradually these shadow apparitions grew larger and more persistent. Sometimes they would linger for extended periods without any discernible movement, making me believe that they were part of my everyday reality, until they abruptly vanished. Now let me explain the importance of my sublingual film in my life. You see, I rely on this medication to manage my condition, as failing to take it regularly can plunge me into debilitating withdrawals. To access the contents of the film, I must employ a pair of scissors. Due to my propensity for unconsciously kicking objects off the foot of my bed while sleeping, I make a conscious effort to never leave anything potentially hazardous in that vicinity. Consequently, I always ensure the scissors are nowhere near the foot of my bed. However, one day when I needed the scissors, they were inexplicably absent. I meticulously tore apart my bed, rummaged through every nook and cranny of my room, and meticulously inspected the closet and drawers, desperately searching for the misplaced tool. Frustrated and running out of time, I turned my head to the left, intending to grab my phone and rush to the store to acquire a replacement. And then upon swiveling back toward the bed, there they were, sitting nonchalantly on the very edge from which they had been absent moments before. Astonishingly, the same peculiar incident occurred with the small stuffed animal that I owned. Now I understand that one might attribute these strange occurrences to my deteriorating mental state, and indeed I have considered the possibility that I'm losing my grip. However, I assure you that I meticulously combed through every inch of that room, examining every possible location, including beneath the sheets, and found no trace of the missing items. It could very well be an elaborate trick of the mind, but as the frequency and intensity of these events continue to escalate, I find myself growing increasingly apprehensive about what might transpire next. In light of these perplexing events, I would be immensely grateful if anyone could share prayers or spiritual guidance that might provide solace or aid in this disconcerting situation. The Lady in Black. I'm a trucker, and my brother-in-law and I work as a team, frequently running a route to York, Pennsylvania. One of the roads we often traverse is the Susquehanna Trail, which I mention in case anyone's familiar with the area. On a chilly January morning, around midnight, we had just finished delivering our trailer, and we were ready to hit the road again. As we approached a dip in the road, I noticed a series of houses with long driveways surrounding the area. Little did I know that this mundane stretch of road was about to become the stage for a peculiar encounter. As our headlights pierced through the darkness and illuminated the bottom of the dip, my brother-in-law and I simultaneously caught a glimpse of a woman. She appeared to be elderly, dressed in striking black gown, reminiscent of a Gothic or Victorian-era piece, and to complete her enigmatic appearance, she wore a hat, and her face was partially obscured by a veil or translucent fabric of some kind. Despite the veil, we couldn't discern her facial features, along with her arms and hands. Her head was lowered, but her eyes were fixed upon us. What struck us as eerie was the fact that although her body remained motionless, she managed to turn her face in our direction as we drove past. The entire scene left us bewildered, questioning the nature of this encounter. Could it be possible that this woman suffered from mental illness, compelling her to stand alone on the side of the road in the dead of night? Moreover, what motivated her to endure the bone-chilling temperatures, braving the freezing cold just to be there? These questions echoed in my mind as we continued our journey, leaving behind the mysterious woman in the dark, wintry night. Is the ghost that followed me from my old house considered an attachment? I spent numerous years residing in a haunted house where a plethora of spirits resided. Among them, there is one particular entity that displayed an exceptional fondness towards me. It wasn't until I revisited my old abode and consulted a medium that I discovered that the spirit had tagged along with me, harboring no ill intentions but rather a protective nature. Initially, I tucked this information away in the recesses of my mind, giving it little attention. However, events that transpired just yesterday forced me to confront the reality of the situation. My husband and I found ourselves engaged in a minor disagreement, which seems to be escalating rapidly toward full-blown argument. It's worth noting that such disputes were a rarity with us, occurring only once every 6 months, during which we would unleash our pent-up frustrations accumulated over the preceding half year. Now let me provide some context. I am of a petite stature, whereas my husband stands at an imposing 6 feet tall, weighing approximately 240 pounds. Endowed with a robust build, as our quarrel intensified, I could feel my anger mounting, and before I knew it, an inexplicable force hurled my husband against the wall with an unimaginable vigor, despite me being nowhere near him. Astonishingly, he became immobilized, gripped firmly in place as if restrained by an unseen hand. In that moment of urgency, I instinctively cried out the name Charlie, the very name the medium had divulged to me. "Let him go immediately," I implored, ensuring Charlie understood that this was merely a minor spat between marital partners and that my husband posed no threat to me. Miraculously, my husband was instantaneously released from the invisible hold. Being the perpetual skeptic he was, my husband cautiously proposed that, as a precautionary measure, we confine all of our future discussions to the privacy of our car. Although my husband had not displayed any form of aggression, nor was he close to proximity to me at the time of the incident, he had never resorted to physical violence throughout our 10 years together. This raised a troubling question within me. Had I granted Charlie too much leeway by merely accepting his presence without making an earnest attempt to rid myself of his influence? As an individual seemingly drawn to paranormal encounters, I typically remained unfazed by eerie occurrences. However, this recent incident left an indelible mark on my psyche. It unsettled me deeply, compelling me to engage in heartfelt conversation with Charlie, wherein I firmly emphasized the unacceptable nature of his actions. New Redditor to this sub, but I have a lot of paranormal stories. I grew up in a haunted house and very connected to my spiritual side. The story that still continues to amaze and send shiver down my spines whenever I recollect it involves a peculiar incident with my younger sister, who was merely 4 years old at the time. Now, it's important to bear in mind that she was mostly nonverbal and on the autism spectrum, which made her communication abilities quite limited. You see, my father and I have always had an affinity for seeking out haunted locations, embarking on thrilling journeys to connect with spirits, and upon returning home, delving into extensive research about the places that we had visited. We firmly believed that if one possessed precise knowledge about what they sought, the mind had the power to conjure illusions and play tricks on them. Consequently, we would often revisit these haunted sites armed with newfound insights, attempting to establish contact with specific spirits and entities. One day I stumbled upon a renowned haunted woods, and with great excitement, my father, sister, and I set off on a memorable expedition to this eerie location. It's worth noting that we had absolutely no prior knowledge of the woods, or its haunted history, until we conducted our research after returning home. However, even without any background information, an inexplicable sense of unease surrounded us as we delved deeper into the woods. We couldn't shake off the sensations that were being relentlessly pursued. We couldn't shake off the sensation that we were being relentlessly pursued by an unseen presence. After tirelessly exploring for about an hour, we arrived at a peculiar clearing devoid of trees, emanating an overwhelming sense of discomfort. It was then that something utterly bewildering occurred. My little sister's face turned as pale as a ghost, and she erupted into uncontrollable tears, completely overwhelmed by an indescribable fear. Realizing that it was best to conclude our expedition for the day, we hurriedly made our way back to the car, hoping to console and provide a sense of security. Concerned for her well-being, I sat in the back seat of the car, right beside my sister, determined to keep her company during the drive home. So as we embarked on the journey back, my sister turned towards me, her eyes filled with an uncanny intensity, and she uttered the words that sent shivers down my spine. "The men in red told me to stop following them. I'm going to turn in now," she said, her voice carrying an otherworldly quality. The strangest part was that she rarely spoke in full sentences, limited mostly to simple phrases such as drink or cuddle. Therefore, her articulate and seemingly prophetic statement caught us completely off guard, leaving us with an overwhelming sense of unease and bewilderment. Upon conducting extensive research in the days that followed, we uncovered a horrifying truth about the very woods we had ventured into. It turns out that several hundred years ago, the exact clearing where my sister had cried so uncontrollably had served as a site for satanic rituals involving heinous human sacrifices. The individuals involved in these abhorrent practices would don red attire, concealing stains of blood as they departed the sinister scene. The chilling correlation between my sister's distress and the historical events that took place in that very location was too eerie to dismiss. Needless to say, we never returned to those haunted woods again, ensuring my sister would never have to face such distressing encounters in the future. The incident remains etched in my memory as a testament to the inexplicable and eerie forces that permeate the realms beyond our comprehension, forever reminding me of the mysterious and unexplainable depths of the supernatural world that we inhabit. The haunted house near me. People don't scream like that for no reason. I'd witnessed the sheer terror etched on my friend's face, and it was a sight that I couldn't easily dismiss. The incident left me shaken to the core, questioning the true nature of the malevolent force that resided within that accursed house. From that point onward, I vowed to never venture past that haunted dwelling after nightfall. Broad daylight became my sole refuge, the only time I felt safe to pass by its eerie facade. Time pressed on, and years slipped away like grains of sand through an hourglass, yet the echoes of the inexplicable events continued to reverberate within my mind. One fateful day, as fate would have it, found myself in the company of the same courageous friend who had shared my harrowing experiences. We strolled leisurely, immersed in the warmth of the sun's embrace, unaware of the imminent revelation that awaited us. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a colossal insect materialized before our eyes, its wings fluttering in erratic patterns. Startled, I emitted a startled cry, a mixture of surprise and residual anxiety. My friend turned to me, her eyes widening with alarm, and with tremor in her voice she uttered words that sent chills coursing through my veins. "Oh God, what happened? Have you seen the old woman too?" I froze, the blood draining from my face, and the words struck a disconcerting chord within me. The old woman? What old woman? I managed to stammer, my mind racing to connect the fragmented pieces of this haunting puzzle. My companion hesitated for a moment, as if grappling with the weight of her own memories. Then, with a resigned sigh, she merely replied, "It was nothing, just a passing thought." But I could see it in her eyes, the flicker of fear that mirrored my own. There was more to this cryptic statement, a hidden truth that she chose to shield from me. The pieces began to align, forming a terrific mosaic. The spectral voice of gratitude, the foreboding darkness that consumed the street, the unexplained phenomenon that had shaken us to our very core, everything pointed towards the presence of an enigmatic old woman, lurking within the confines of that ominous house. Over the span of a decade, and then some, my encounters with the inexplicable remained intertwined with that haunting abode. And it wasn't just my friend and I who fell prey to its sinister allure. Other acquaintances, neighbors, and unsuspecting visitors also shared their own tales of unsettling experiences. It became abundantly clear that the malevolence that permeated that place was growing stronger with each passing year, as if feeding off the fear, that apprehension that it was evoking. With a heavy heart, I came to the realization that this was a battle I couldn't fight alone. The time for amateur sleuthing and amateurishly dismissing the inexplicable had passed. It was evident that a professional, someone well-versed in the realm of the supernatural, was needed to confront the malevolent force dwelling within those haunted walls. We made the decision to move away, seeking solace in a new environment far removed from the clutches of that house's haunting legacy. Still, the memories lingered, and I couldn't help but wonder about the fate of those who had come after us. Would they too succumb to the same inexplicable occurrences, forever entwined in a web of fear and uncertainty? As the years wore on, my hope for a resolution remained steadfast. Perhaps one day, that house would receive the cleansing it so desperately needed, a ritual of purification to release the tormented souls that it held captive. Until then, the dark secrets and chilling encounters would remain etched in my memory, an indelible mark of the supernatural realm that encroached upon our lives. Time had not diminished the unnerving power that emanated from that house, nor had it erased the lingering questions that haunted my thoughts. Years have passed since that fateful cleansing, and the house has now become a symbol of hope, a testament to the human spirit's ability to confront and overcome the supernatural. It stands as a beacon of resilience, reminding us that even in the face of inexplicable phenomenon, there's always a glimmer of light that can pierce through the darkest of shadows. While the memories of my encounters with the paranormal will be forever etched in my mind, I take solace in knowing that we were able to bring closure to the restless spirits and grant peace to the house that held us captive for so long. The tales of the haunted house had become a reminder that sometimes, facing our deepest fears and embracing the unknown is the only way to free ourselves from the clutches of darkness. And so, I continue to walk forward, forever grateful for the lessons learned and the bonds forged in the crucible of the supernatural.